In August of 1966, two men climbed a hill outside Niterói carrying raincoats, lead masks, and a single notebook. 2 days later, a boy flying a kite found them dead in the brush. The masks were placed over their eyes. Their names were Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel Jose Viana. Both were electronics technicians from a small city called Campos das Goitacazes, 300 kilometers up the coast east. Neither had any reason to be in Niterói. Neither told their families where they were going. What they left behind has been studied for 60 years and case really unsolved. This is the story of the lead mask's mystery. On the morning of August 17th, Manuel told his wife he was going to buy a car. He withdrew the equivalent of 2 months' wages from the bank. Miguel borrowed his brother's coat. The two men met at the bus station in Campos, bought tickets to Niterói, and disappeared into the afternoon. What we know after that comes from a single witness. The owner of a small bar in São Gonçalo, just past the city limits, remembered serving two well-dressed men in the late afternoon. They asked for mineral water. They paid with a large bill. And the bar owner said they looked nervous and seemed to be checking the time. That was the last confirmed sighting of either man alive. On the afternoon of August 20th, an 18-year-old kite enthusiast named Jorge da Costa was hiking the slopes of Morro do Vintém, the Vintém hill, when he saw something in the brush above him. He climbed up to look. He found two bodies laid out on their backs. Both men were wearing matching gray suits. Both were wearing raincoats. Each had a metal mask placed carefully over his face, covering the eyes. The masks were homemade, cut from sheets of lead of the kind used in laboratory work to shield against radiation. There were no signs of violence, no signs of struggle. Their clothes were undisturbed. Their watches still ran. A small towel and a half-empty bottle of mineral water lay on a rock between them. In one of the men's pockets, the police found a folded piece of paper. On it, in careful handwriting, was a single line of instructions. I translated, it read, 16:30 hours, be at the agreed location, 18:30 hours, in this capsules. After feeling the effects, protect metals, await the signal mass. That is the entire note. No greeting, no signature, no explanation. There were no capsules found at the scene, the signal, whatever it was. Before we go further into what investigators found, it helps to know who Manuel actually were. Both were in their 30s, both were married. Both worked as television and radio repairmen in Campos das Goitacazes, a quiet sugarcane city on the Paraíba do Sol River. They were respected in their trade. They were not, by any account, mentally unwell. What they shared beyond their profession was an interest in something else. Both men were members of an informal spiritist circle in Campos. The group practiced a fringe form of Brazilian spiritism that mixed Catholic ritual, cardiacesis, and a fascination with extraterrestrial life. In the months before their deaths, both men had spoken about a contact. They believed, or claimed to believe, that they would soon meet beings from another world. They believed that the meeting would happen at a specific time in a specific place. They believed it required preparation. Manuel's wife later told police that her husband had been calmer than usual the morning he left. He had kissed her on the forehead. He had said he would be back the next day. He had said, I am going somewhere important. The hill the two men chose was not random. Morro do Vintém was, in 1966, a place with a small but persistent reputation. Locals had reported strange lights above its summit for years. A nun from a convent at its base had described seeing oval-shaped objects hovering at dusk weeks before the bodies were found. A second witness, a woman from a nearby neighborhood, told police she had seen an orange light over the hill on the evening of August 17th, descending and then climbing again. This was the day the men disappeared. The autopsy was performed at the Institute in Niterói, but it was incomplete. The toxicology samples were stored improperly. The viscera were lost. By the time outside experts asked to examine the tissues, there was nothing left to examine. Whatever was in the bodies, whatever capsules the note referenced, could not be tested. What investigators could establish was this: neither man had any external injury, neither had been moved after death. There was no defensive wound, no sign of restraint. They appeared to every doctor who saw them to have simply lain down and stopped breathing. The lead masks themselves were the strangest detail. Both were cut from the same sheet, by the same hand. They fit each man's face precisely. They were finished on the inside with felt. They had been prepared in advance with care, for a purpose neither man ever explained. 4 theories have dominated the case for the past 60 years. Each fits some of the evidence. None fits all of it. The first is contact. Two men believed they would meet something on that hillock. They prepared the masks, not as disguise, but as protection against the same radiation a laboratory worker shields against. They took whatever was in those capsules to alter perception or to weather the encounter. Then they waited. Then something went wrong. This theory accounts for the masks. It accounts for the cryptic note. It accounts for the careful preparation. It does not account for the cause of death, which no autopsy could ever establish. The second is occult ritual. Their spiritist group was small, secretive, and unconventional. They may have believed the masks served a spiritual function. The capsules may have been hallucinogens, often a ceremony intended to induce a vision. The deaths may have been accidental, the result of a dose neither man understood. This theory accounts for the secrecy and for the preparation. It does not account for the lead. The third is murder. A third party may have arranged the meeting, supplied the capsules, watched them take effect, and then taken the money Manuel had withdrawn from the bank. No money was found on either man. The investigation could never establish who they had been planning to meet. This theory accounts for the missing money. It does not account for the fact that nothing else was disturbed, and that both men appeared to have lain down willingly. The fourth is the simplest. The two men, deep in their belief, intended their own deaths. The ritual was a transition, not a meeting. The masks were grave goods. The capsules were what killed them. This theory accounts for the calm of the bodies. It does not account for why neither man left a goodbye for his wife. It does not account for the planning of the masks. It does not account for the witnesses who saw lights. In the decades since, the case has been reopened by Brazilian journalists, police investigators, and amateur researchers. Each one has come to a slightly different conclusion. Each one has run into the same wall. The tissue samples are gone. The witnesses have died. The two men cannot be asked. What we are left with is this. They were not lost. They were not coerced. They climbed the hill on purpose, carrying objects they prepared themselves in pursuit of an outcome they had reason to expect. They laid down where they meant to lay down. They placed the masks over their own eyes. And then, somewhere between 16:30 and dawn the next morning, on the side of a hill above the city of Niterói, the hill is still there. You can climb it. There's a small trail and a viewpoint at the top. And on a clear evening, you can see the lights of Niterói and Rio across the bay. Locals still report odd lights sometimes. And the masks themselves are kept in storage at the police archive. The notebook page has never been published in full. What were they waiting for? What did they see? What killed them? 6 decades on, the file remains open.